prescription for profit. In 2019, Remedica Therapeutics stood as one of America's most trusted pharmaceutical names. With over 40,000 employees and a market value exceeding $70 billion, its research division was hailed as the pride of modern medicine. Their latest drug, CardioVex, promised to revolutionize heart disease treatment, a once-in-a-generation breakthrough. Behind the corporate sheen, however, Remedica was a company under pressure. Investors demanded rapid approvals. Shareholders demanded profit. And executives, quietly, demanded results no matter the cost. The first red flag appeared in a small regional office in Dallas. A junior accountant, Emily Hurst, noticed irregularities in the company's research expense accounts. Payments marked as clinical trial data logistics were being funneled to obscure offshore entities with no clear research affiliation. When she escalated the matter, her report was quietly reassigned and then erased from the internal system. A month later, CardioVex hit the market with record-breaking sales. Within 6 weeks, hospitals across 3 states began reporting adverse reactions, strokes, seizures, and in 14 tragic cases, deaths. Publicly, Remedica called it coincidence. Privately, executives scrambled. In Washington, D.C., the Federal Forensic Financial Crimes Division, FFCD, a specialized team formed after a series of health sector frauds, took notice. They assigned the case to lead forensic auditor Marcus Layton, a former Wall Street accountant turned federal investigator known for uncovering irregularities others missed. Layton's team began by reviewing Remedica's internal ledger system. What they found was a masterpiece of deception. The company had built a dual reporting structure, one for the FDA and another for investors. Data from drug trials were being altered at the spreadsheet level, with negative results hidden under unverified columns and financial entries retroactively adjusted to justify research write-offs. Every audit trail led to the same place, a private data firm in Delaware, Quantisphere Analytics, supposedly contracted for data integrity testing. But Quantisphere didn't exist, at least not legally. Its office address was a virtual mailbox, shared by dozens of shell corporations. When the FFCD subpoenaed Remedica's internal emails, the true picture emerged. Senior executives had directed scientists to restate outcomes to protect the stock value. Internal auditors who questioned the data were silenced or reassigned. One message, sent weeks before the drug's FDA approval, read chillingly: "We cannot afford another delay. Adjust the numbers. Ethically if possible, creatively if not." Meanwhile, families of the victims began filing lawsuits. The company's legal team dismissed them as statistical anomalies, but the forensic accountants knew better. Layton's team reconstructed the financial timeline using forensic imaging of the company's encrypted drives. They found hundreds of deleted files, restored to metadata recovery, showing that the supposed research funds had been rerouted to overseas accounts controlled by Remedica CFO Paul Donovan and 2 senior research heads. The amounts totaled $184 million. The discovery triggered a full-scale federal raid on Remedica's headquarters in New Jersey. Forensic investigators worked side by side with law enforcement and the Department of Justice to secure thousands of boxes of evidence, contracts, hard drives, and email archives. Inside the company, chaos reigned. Employees whispered about Project Phoenix, an internal code name for manipulating trial data through outsourced analysts who never existed. As investigators pieced together the puzzle, they realized the fraud extended far beyond one drug. Over a 5-year period, Remedica had systematically falsified test results to fast-track approvals for at least 4 major drugs. In return, executives received multi-million-dollar bonuses tied to successful innovation. When confronted, CFO Paul Donovan denied all wrongdoing. But forensic analysts traced cryptocurrency transfers to accounts linked to his brother in the Cayman Islands, perfectly matching the timeline of the falsified data entries. The final blow came from within. A senior compliance officer, Dr. Karen Duval, broke her silence and handed over internal audit memos that proved top management knew about the falsification. Her decision to come forward at great personal risk changed the course of the investigation. In a tense congressional hearing, Layton presented a forensic audit report, a 400-page document that read like a crime novel written in numbers. He detailed how the manipulation wasn't a technical oversight, but a strategic deception. The committee's reaction was swift. The Department of Justice indicted 6 executives, including the CEO, CFO, and head of research, on charges of wire fraud, securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud. During the trial, Remedica's defense argued that data variation was common in pharmaceutical research, but the prosecution countered with forensic spreadsheets showing timestamps of deliberate edits. The evidence was irrefutable. In 2023, after months of testimony, the executives were found guilty. Paul Donovan received 18 years in federal prison. The company was fined $2.6 billion, and Cardiovex was pulled from the market. In the aftermath, Congress passed stricter transparency laws on clinical research funding, known as the Remedica Accountability Act. But the damage had already been done. Families were still mourning, whistleblowers had lost their jobs, and faith in corporate integrity had been shaken yet again. Years later, when interviewed by a journalist, Marcus Layton said quietly, "The truth was always in the numbers. You just had to be willing to see what others looked away from." Moral and call to action. Behind every balance sheet is a choice, to serve profit or to serve people. No figure, no stock price, and no executive bonus is worth a single lost life. Corporate accountability begins with integrity, and integrity begins with the courage to question what doesn't.